There was a time when my home was full of dishes I rarely used, full of clothes that no longer fit but carried memories, full of gifts I couldn't bear to part with, even when I didn't remember who gave them to me. It wasn't clutter, it was history, or so I told myself. But one morning, I stood in the middle of my living room and felt buried. Buried under things I once thought I needed to keep, buried under layers of just in case and maybe someday. And in that quiet moment, I asked myself a question I had never dared to ask before. What am I really holding on to? The answer surprised me. I was holding on to proof. Proof that I had lived a full life. Proof that I had been loved, needed, celebrated. Proof that I was once young, once busy, once in control. But here's what I've learned after 70. You don't need to prove your life has meaning by surrounding yourself with objects. The meaning is in you, not the things. So, I started letting go. I packed away old china I hadn't touched in a decade, donated clothes I kept for their stories, not their usefulness, gave away books I would never reread, and trinkets that only gathered dust and guilt. And each time I let go of something, I felt a little more space inside. It wasn't just about tidying, it was about grieving and honoring and releasing, about saying, this served me once, but it no longer needs to follow me forward. You see, we often keep things because we're afraid of forgetting. But I realized the memories I truly need live in me, not in a drawer. Now, when I look around my home, I feel air, light, breathing room. I haven't lost anything that mattered. I've just made space for what matters now. And at this stage of life, space is a gift, not just in your home, but in your heart. As I grew older, I began to notice something strange. People didn't just see me as me anymore, they started seeing me as an elderly person. As if there was a rule book I now had to follow. As if aging came with a set of expectations I never agreed to. You shouldn't live alone at your age. You're too old to be doing that. You should rest more. You should dress more modestly. You should stop worrying about things like dreams. The world, with all its good intentions, began shrinking me, putting me into a box labeled senior and sealing it with phrases like, be careful, and you're not as young as you used to be. And for a while, I listened. I tried to become what they expected. I quieted my voice in conversations. I stopped going to places I loved because someone said they were too far. I hesitated to try new things, even things as simple as planting a garden or learning something online, because I was told, why now? Just rest. But the more I tried to fit into that mold, the more invisible I became, even to myself. One evening, sitting alone with a cup of tea, I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if aging isn't about doing less, but about doing differently? That's when I let go. I let go of the belief that I had to age quietly, politely, passively. I let go of the idea that I had to fade gently into the background to be considered graceful. And I reclaimed my version of growing old. Maybe I speak up more now, not because I'm louder, but because I'm clearer. Maybe I take slow walks in the park by myself, not because I'm lonely, but because I love the silence. Maybe I wear bright colors on days when the world feels gray, and maybe I laugh too loud at things only I find funny. But I'm no longer living by someone else's blueprint for how a woman in her 70s should behave. Because here's the truth no one told me. You are allowed to age on your own terms. With softness or fire, with solitude or community, with stillness or movement, with whatever feels true to you. You don't need to earn approval for how you choose to spend these precious years. You only need to be honest with yourself. So now when someone says, at your age, should you really? I smile gently, because they don't know what I know, that real freedom begins when you stop performing and start being. There was a time, not so long ago, when I lived with a quiet ache. Not pain in the body, but in the heart. The kind of ache that whispers, you haven't done enough. I've raised children. I've stayed up through sick nights, worried through their heartbreaks, cooked hundreds of meals, folded thousands of shirts, and even now, with silver hair and tired bones, I still catch myself wondering, am I giving enough back? The guilt crept in slowly. When I couldn't babysit as often, when I forgot a birthday, when I said no to something because I was simply too tired. I would look at their lives, busy, demanding, stretched thin, and I'd feel the weight, as if being older meant I now had to repay all the love I once gave, as if love were a debt and I was still behind. But one morning, over a cup of tea and a deep sigh, I realized something that changed everything. Love is not a ledger. It's not something to balance or repay. It's something we live freely and fully, and then let go of like a gift we never expect back. I started to see that I was not here to serve, fix, or prove anymore. I had already done that, not perfectly, but wholeheartedly. What my children need from me now is not my exhaustion, not my constant availability, not my quiet suffering. They need my wholeness, my presence, my joy. They need to know that it's okay to grow old and still matter, even if you're not constantly doing, even if you're simply being. So I let go of that guilt, not because I stopped loving them, but because I started loving myself too. I began to understand that being a parent in your 70s means showing your children what peace looks like, what living gently after the storms of life truly means. It means being a lighthouse, not a lifeboat. And now when I sit quietly with a book or say no to a family trip I know will leave me exhausted, I no longer feel like I'm failing them. I feel like I'm honoring all that I've given and allowing space for what still remains. So if you're holding that same guilt, the kind that whispers, you should be doing more for them, listen to this instead. You've already done so much. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give is to show them how to live with grace, limits, and love, starting with yourself. There comes a time in life, often after 70, when you no longer have the energy to entertain people who shrink your spirit. For years, I held on to certain friendships, old classmates, distant cousins, people from church or the neighborhood. Some of them I had known for decades. But time doesn't always deepen connection. Sometimes it just prolongs discomfort. They would call, not to ask how I was, but to compare, to complain, to subtly remind me of everything I was no longer doing or being. I'd hang up the phone and feel smaller, drained, as if I had to recover from the conversation. But I kept answering, because I felt guilty, because we had history, because at this age people say, don't burn bridges, you never know who you'll need. But one day I realized something far more important. I don't want to spend what's left of my life managing energy that depletes me. I want to give my time to peace, to kindness, to people who see me, not as I was, but as I am. So I stopped calling first, stopped replying out of obligation, stopped showing up where I didn't feel safe, welcome, or valued. And something unexpected happened. The silence that followed, it didn't hurt, it healed. Because the space those people used to occupy was slowly filled with quiet afternoons, gentle laughter, and connections that felt like home, even if they were fewer. I used to believe that growing old meant holding on to everyone. But now I know. Growing wise means knowing who to release. You are allowed to let go of people who only see your past or who can't meet you where you are now. You're allowed to protect your peace, even if it means choosing solitude over company that unsettles you. Not all relationships are meant to last forever. Some were only meant to teach us what we no longer want to feel. So now, when I feel that old tug of guilt, that voice that says, you should call them, it's been a while, I pause and I ask myself, will this bring me peace, or will it cost me the little peace I've worked so hard to find? If it's the latter, I let it go. Because after 70, peace is not a luxury, it's a right. And you do not have to apologize for choosing it. There's a particular kind of heaviness that comes with age. It doesn't sit on the shoulders or in the joints. It rests deeper, in the heart, in the memories, in the what-ifs. I've carried regrets like secret stones. Things I didn't say, doors I didn't walk through. Dreams I let go of because I was too busy raising children, working long hours, or simply trying to survive. I used to revisit those moments like old photographs, not to admire them, but to punish myself. If only I had spoken up. If only I had taken that trip. If only I had loved myself sooner. And that kind of reflection? It's not healing, it's haunting. I thought it was noble to remember, to keep the past close so I could learn from it. But I learned this instead. There comes a time when remembering becomes reliving. And reliving becomes relenting. And relenting becomes forgetting how to live now. So I started practicing something radical. Forgiveness, not for others, but for me. I forgave the woman I used to be, the one who didn't know what she knows now, the one who made mistakes with the best intentions, the one who did what she could with what she had at the time she had it. And slowly I released her. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with a soft whisper. Thank you. You carried me this far. I'll take it from here. Now when my mind reaches backward to the missed chances, the broken relationships, the dreams that didn't bloom, I don't flinch. I smile. Because the past doesn't own me anymore. It walks beside me, not behind or ahead. It's a companion, not a chain. And what could have been simply wasn't. And that's okay. I'm still here. I still have mornings. I still have breath. I still have time. Maybe not as much as before, but enough. Enough to start over in small ways. Enough to be kind to myself. Enough to live a life that is not burdened by ghosts, but grounded in grace. So if you're still holding on to what might have been, please hear this from someone who has finally let go. You don't have to carry it anymore. You're allowed to be free, even now, especially now. There was a phase, sometime after retirement, after the house grew quiet, when I was afraid of stillness. Afraid of the long stretch between breakfast and lunch. Afraid of quiet evenings that arrived too soon. Afraid that if I sat still for too long, I would feel the full weight of loneliness. So I stayed busy, cleaning things that didn't need cleaning, folding laundry that wasn't mine, watching TV not for joy, but for noise, saying yes to things I didn't care about, just to fill the calendar. But here's what no one tells you. Busyness is not the same as purpose. Distraction is not the same as living. One afternoon, I caught myself rearranging the same drawer I'd sorted just days before. I stopped, I looked around, and I asked myself, what am I afraid of feeling if I stop doing? The answer came quietly. Sadness, emptiness, that deep echo of time passing without permission. But something else followed, a strange sense of possibility. What if I didn't run from the stillness? What if I entered it, gently, and found something else waiting there? So I let go. I let go of the need to fill every moment. I let go of the guilt that told me rest was laziness. I let go of doing things just to feel like I still had value. And in the space that opened up, I found presence. Now I sit with my tea longer. I write little poems in the margins of old notebooks. I watch the sun move across the room, not as a background detail, but as a silent ceremony. I breathe slower. I notice more. And yes, sometimes I cry. Not because I'm falling apart, but because I'm finally not numbing anything anymore. I don't need to prove I'm useful every hour of the day. I just need to be here, with honesty and gentleness. So if you're still trying to outrun the silence with chores, noise, and endless busy work, I see you. But I promise you this, when you stop filling every empty space, you might just discover that emptiness isn't scary, it's sacred. It's where your soul has been waiting to speak. The older I get, the more I realize, life doesn't get lighter by adding more. It gets lighter when we learn what to release. We spend our younger years gathering things, people, expectations, roles, obligations, regrets. We carry them like bags through airports that no longer lead anywhere. We keep them, not because we need them, but because we forgot how to live without the weight. But what if these years, these tender, quiet, sacred years, are not about carrying more, but about learning to set things down? What if peace doesn't come from solving everything, but from surrendering what was never yours to hold forever? I've let go of clutter that blocked the light, let go of relationships that drained me, let go of guilt that was never mine to carry, let go of old dreams that no longer fit who I've become. Let go of time-wasting busyness that masked my loneliness. And in that letting go, I found something I never expected to reclaim: myself. Lighter, softer, more awake, more whole. Now I move through my home with ease. My mind doesn't trip over what-ifs. My heart has room to breathe. There's space finally for silence to be soothing, not scary. There's time, real time, for the small things that feed the soul. A nap without guilt, a walk without destination, a conversation with myself that feels kind. So if you are still holding too much in your house, in your heart, in your hands, I invite you, let go. Just a little. Start somewhere. Choose one thing that no longer serves the person you're becoming and release it. Not because you're giving up, but because you're making space to rise. Because after 70, you deserve to wake up feeling light. You deserve a life with fewer burdens and more breath. You deserve mornings that don't start with a sigh. You deserve the freedom to live gently on your own terms. And if this video touched you, if you recognized yourself in even a single part of it, leave a comment below. Tell me, what's one thing you've let go of, or want to let go of, to live lighter? Your story might be the whisper someone else needs to hear today. And don't forget to subscribe to Golden Pathways, because together, we're not just growing older, we're growing freer, softer, and more beautifully human.